Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and transfer news update shows. Reports coming out that Manchester United have expressed a desire to sign Kylian Mbappe. Do I think we'll sign Kylian Mbappe? No. Do I think it's possible if we get rich fucking new owners and we finish in the top four? Yes. But do I see him going to Real Madrid? Yes. Just like Jude Bellingham, Manchester United seems to be interested in Mbappe. Can't see it happening, but I will be covering that in a second, as well as Cody Gakpo news. Good sources coming out, talks what Alex Crook, among other good sources, basically saying, they're 100% confident Gakpo will get a January move. They believe that they will see Gakpo at Manchester United and more. We've got news on Vlahovic, on Carlo Ramos. We've got news on basically Man United having talks with the Middle East. Jadon Sancho's not returning. And we've got news ahead of the Burnley game tomorrow because we're only 21 hours away from the return of Manchester United. 21 hours away until we see United play Burnley, and reportedly Garnacho's starting a lineup is coming out for United Burnley, and also Manchester United have given out 4 new contracts. So let's get into the news first of all. We'll get into the Mbappe news because it's news that's kind of trending on Twitter. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but we might as well talk about it. Alex V said, Alice, have you ever considered if we spent that much on signing with new owners, still need to be smart approach with rebuilding? Exactly. I can't see us doing a Bellingham or an Mbappe type deal, but I can imagine Ten Hag wants it. But let me get into the news, people. So do hit that like button and, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. It's been said by Sport that Manchester United have expressed their interest and desire to sign Kylian Mbappe, while Chelsea and Liverpool are also considering it. It was then followed up that Mbappe is willing to make an economic effort to lower his salary and hopes that there will be a gesture from PSG and Qatari owners opening up to negotiate a transfer for less than 150 million euros. He wouldn't be much more than Antony. But basically, Mbappe very much wants out of PSG. Real Madrid said as soon as Mbappe rejected them last minute in the summer that they no longer wanted Mbappe. Barcelona are muddled at the moment. Bayern Munich Bundesliga is a dead league. At the way it's going, Kylian Mbappe looks like he'd be going to the Premier League. My fear is if he goes to the Premier League, he'd go to Man City. Realistically, you'd see Kylian Mbappe going to Man City, maybe Chelsea, but for me, Kylian Mbappe's got Man City and Real Madrid written all over him. Do I think Man City will go for Mbappe? Yes, because they've got infinite funds. Imagine Mbappe and Haaland in the same team would be absolutely disgusting. Do I think Man United would try and get Mbappe under new ownership? Yes. Do I think we'll get Mbappe? No. Do I think we'll try? Yes. Would I like Mbappe at Manchester United? Yes, it would be an absolutely fantastic signing. Despite arrogance, despite attitude problems, I just think that Ten Hag would be a good manager. I think that, if we had a good season, finishing the top 4, we're building something. Of course, I'd like Mbappe at United. For me, he is the best player in the world. I know he's got a bit of an attitude, but that's what you've got to be the best player in the world. I wouldn't say no to Mbappe at United. I don't think we'll get him, even with new owners. I can't see him going to United, but he does want to leave PSG. He is open for a move, and United have expressed interest in Kylian Mbappe, which is the news coming out. I do want to dive into some of the other main stories. I want to get into the big news on Cody Gakpo. I also want to get into news under new contracts and all of that as well. But people, would you take Mbappe at United? Let's say we can get Mbappe. Would you take him at Manchester United? I'm just intrigued because I know some people wouldn't as well. Burnley will likely win. They're on a roll with good wins, and we have a depleted squad. You know what? I'm not that confident for Burnley tomorrow. I want to quickly talk about this Burnley game before I get back into the news as well. But I do think Burnley have been playing together a little bit longer. They've had a few games. They're on a roll. They've got their whole squad. We're missing Delot, so Delot won't play. It's likely to be Maguire, Lindelof, probably Malacia because he's played less than Luke Shaw in the World Cup. And then, I don't know. Maybe we play Shaw and Malacia at right back. Maybe Brandon Williams plays right back. It's interesting to see. Will Wan-Bissaka play? It's going to be De Gea, Maguire, Lindelof. McTominay is going to play. Van der Beek's going to play, and I think that Bruno will probably play. And with Garnacho probably playing, Alanga probably playing, and Martial probably playing. Sancho's not back as well. I do think tomorrow's lineup isn't going to be a particular strong lineup. I think that, some of the players returning will probably be on the bench like Rashford, Bruno, but I don't know if they'll start because obviously they only came back to training today. So the Luke Shaw, Malacia, Fred, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford and Antony all came back to training today. So I don't know if they'll be involved tomorrow. I think they'll probably be on the bench. I think, he would not involve them because they have been playing at the World Cup and they should be ready to play. But it's a difficult thing, I think, this Burnley game, because Burnley are playing well at the moment. They're all together. They've had their squad together. I'm glad we've got a game before Nottingham Forest. I'm actually really glad we've got this Burnley game before the Nottingham Forest game, just to get us in a sharper set. Again, Nottingham Forest will be missing Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez, so will be Maguire and Lindelof for that game. But I do think we'll beat Nottingham Forest. I have to say, I'm quite relieved that, no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, you never know what they would have been doing over this break. Not many of their players gone to the World Cup, so Nottingham Forest will probably come back a lot stronger after this break, and you never know, Nottingham Forest could be really together. But I am glad that Nottingham Forest our first game back. Like, if we were going straight into a Manchester derby, I tell you what, I would be like, not feeling this. Not feeling this. Steve says, not sure Manu will get Gakpo. Depends if he wants to come. Gakpo does want to come. That's the news coming out as well. Should offer Alanga a loan. Yeah. I maybe put Alanga on loan and deal for Gakpo. I think that would be something we could do. And getting Mbappe takes focus off Rashford being face of United. Plus, I'd rather get a complete team than one player for that price. You know what? That is a good point. I'm gonna do a poll. We're gonna put a poll in the chat, people, for you to answer. And that question that we're going to put in the poll is: would you rather Man United get just like Mbappe, but we get Mbappe, but would you rather us get a midfielder, a striker, a centre mid? Like, what's your thought process on this? I'll ask the poll now. Would you rather, let's say, 150 mil on Mbappe or 150 mil on midfield, striker, and right back? That's my options. I'm going to ask you guys. Would you say Mbappe is too big to turn down, or would you just break the bank for an Mbappe, or would you say that? What about a loan deal in January? A loan deal for Mbappe? I doubt that would ever happen. I cannot see that ever happening. I do want to dive into some more news. So, well, that is the Burnley lineup reportedly coming out as well. United can't get big players anymore, mate. We got Casemiro. I think that United can get good players. And next Man United owners want Mbappe. Who even is the next owner? That's why I did say take this source with a pinch of salt. They're saying that United want Mbappe in the summer, and whoever's the next owners would like to bring in Mbappe. We don't know who the next owners is, but again, I would say bring a pinch of salt. City just brought Haaland and Alvarez. I tell you what, I'm so jealous. Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez at the World Cup were absolutely phenomenal. And I was sitting there thinking, Ralph Ragnick suggested these two fantastic players to Man United. Ralph Ragnick went to Man United and suggested these two fantastic players, Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez, and we could have signed them for 40 million, and the board just said no. Keep Palestri. I'd turn Palestri out on loan. And Alice, I'm curious to see how we play in the restart. We were not playing well in the weeks before the World Cup. We're playing okay, but yeah, it'd be interesting. It would be interesting to see how we do. I think we'll be a little bit rusty because we haven't played together for a while. We won't have some of our more important players, but I think we'll miss Varane and Martinez definitely as well. But let's dive into some news on Cody Gakpo. Some good stories about Cody Gakpo to Manchester United. And TalkSport, I know we call them TalkSpot shite, but in terms of, because they do talk a lot of shite, but in terms of transfer news, they do have some quite factual people on, like Alex Crook. And the news coming in from TalkSport is PSV are willing to entertain bids of around 45 million for Cody Gakpo. PSV would be willing to entertain about 45 million for Gakpo, which I think is affordable for Manchester United. But what was said by Alex Crook, who again is a good journalist, got good sources of information, he said this. And he said regarding Cody Gakpo that Manchester United going all out for Cody Gakpo in January. A growing confidence is that the deal will be done. Ten Hag is leading the pursuit and PSV willing to cash in on the World Cup breakout star. So basically what's come out about Cody Gakpo today is PSV are willing to break in on about 40-45 million for Cody Gakpo, and that United are going to go all out to see if they can get Gakpo done in January. They're going to bat Ten Hag. They're going to try and get Gakpo in January. They've been working on the deal. They've been talking to Gakpo's agent during the World Cup. Now Gakpo's back. Now we're closing up to January. We've already done 4 new deals with the contracts. United very much working on January deals, and that Man United have some confidence a deal will be done for Gakpo, and Man United are the favourites to get Gakpo. We know Real Madrid have interested. We know Liverpool have shown some interest, but we do know one thing, and Fabrizio Romano said this, and I always say, remember, Fabrizio Romano said that Gakpo still wants United. Gakpo still wants to work with Ten Hag. Gakpo has contact with Ten Hag, and Gakpo would accept or agree to join Manchester United. We know maybe if there was loads of clubs in for Gakpo and a choice of 8 clubs, maybe we choose another club over United. But what we do know from Romano is Gakpo wants to work with Ten Hag. He would accept a deal to join United. Gakpo's, he was very upset he didn't get that Man United move in the summer. Gakpo was very upset, but he's never not wanted Manchester United, and United seems to be going all out for him. And this is the big news, because we know that Ten Hag wants Gakpo, and we know that Gakpo wants United. We've always known that PSV will have to sell. We've always known that Ten Hag wanted Gakpo, and we've always known that Gakpo's wanted Man United. The one thing we don't know is United going to go for Gakpo? We know that we could always assume United were going to go for Gakpo because we'd lost Ronaldo, because we almost got him in the summer. We did want him in the summer. And I think, there's been news the last few weeks about Man United having talks with Gakpo's agents, been in talks with Gakpo's agents. So I was pretty confident that United were all in for Gakpo. But for it to be confirmed by a reliable source that we're going to go all out for Gakpo in January, and we're very confident that we're going to get this deal 100% done, for me, that's a very good sign. I do think that United are probably quite confident that they could end up with Gakpo. I think at the end of the day, and Fabrizio Romano said this, and we spoke about this in my video earlier, with Cody Gakpo, it's all about the price in PSV. I think United will make an offer. I think we wouldn't be negotiating with his agents throughout the World Cup, having chats with him and talking to Gakpo and Ten Hag Gakpo if we weren't going to make an offer. I think PSV need to sell. PSV need the money for Gakpo. PSV need to sort out some financial things as well. So I think that PSV can't hold us for ransom like Ajax did. I think it A, just depends on competition, and B, depends on the price. If there's competition, the price can be made higher. If someone's willing to pay PSV 60 million, we haven't got a chance. But if no one's willing to pay PSV more than 40 million, which is what we're willing to pay, then I think we've got a very strong chance of getting someone like Gakpo. Guys, please do hit that like button and subscribe down below. Major said he'd pick Mbappe just to see how he does in the Prem in a team with average players and see how well he does compared to Rashford. Interesting. The thing about Mbappe is he was absolutely fantastic in the World Cup. Kylian Mbappe was absolutely incredible in the World Cup final, scored all his penalties, scored a great volley. It was just carrying France on his shoulder. The one question mark around Kylian Mbappe is one, attitude, but two, people say Kylian Mbappe's got it in him to become, one of the greatest players of all time. But for me, Kylian Mbappe, if he wants to become one of the greatest players of all time, he'd have to 100% get out of that dead-ass French league. He'd have to 100% get out of Ligue 1, which I think he will do. I can see Kylian Mbappe getting out of Ligue 1 particularly soon, but that would be something that, for me, if I'm Kylian Mbappe, one of my priorities would be, all right, let's get out of this dead-ass French league. This league isn't good for me, because if he wants to be the best, you need to get rid of Ligue 1, because you can't test them. And the good thing, the one thing Man United have for them is the Premier League's appealing. It's more appealing than the Bundesliga and Serie A. It's the Premier League, and La Liga is where you want to go if you're a big star, realistically. And the Premier League is very appealing. He might want to battle it out against Haaland. The question is, the only bad side about the Premier League being appealing is we're not a consistent top 4 club. And as well, it depends on new owners, the money, and I don't think we should spend all our money on one player as well. Gakpo is a winger, not a striker. Gakpo can very much play striker and centre forward. I've always said this, Gakpo has been playing striker and centre forward a lot throughout the World Cup. Depay, I think, is a good option, considering Barcelona would sell for 3-4 million. And I think if something went catastrophic with Gakpo and we absolutely fucked up Gakpo, we cannot go into January with no one. We have to sign at least one attacker in January, because we're one injury away from Elanga being a starter week in, week out for United. And no disrespect to Anthony Elanga, but we shouldn't be in a position where we're one injury away from Anthony Elanga being a starter for United. And, we've seen Martial's injury record. So, yeah, we need to have an attacker in. And I think if something happened with Gakpo and João Felix and Goncalo Ramos were at a price, we know that Barcelona would want to sell Depay. And if I were United, if we fail Gakpo, just go and get Depay, because you have to bring someone in. We Elanga or Depay, Depay is better, and, just bring him back, even though he failed and all of that as well. Alex Crook is a decent journalist. He's not Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein level, but he's very much a good level, good sources as well. Ragnick was mistreated, brought in, identified targets, was ignored and sacked because of the performance of a manager, which isn't why he was brought in. Ragnick was brought in to help us higher up. And the annoying thing about Ralf Ragnick is Ralf Ragnick literally went to the board. This Julian Alvarez guy, 17 million. You need a long-term striker to replace Ronaldo, especially with the Greenwood shit as well. Ralf Ragnick was like, this Julian Alvarez guy is 17 million. And the board ignored him. They absolutely ignored him. Ralf Ragnick said this Enzo Fernandez guy is 20 million. The board ignored him. Those two players would walk in and take that Manchester United team to an absolute new level. And that is the really frustrating thing, because Ragnick was just there telling the board what to do, and the board absolutely ignored him, completely let him down, because the board is useless. Over 340 people watching, guys, so please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new for daily news as well. Big up everybody in the chat. I think we should get a Gakpo and Frimpong this January. This is the goal. Ten Hag wants Gakpo and Frimpong. Ten Hag wants Gakpo and Frimpong this January. He wants Wan-Bissaka gone. Now Ronaldo's gone. He wants Gakpo and Frimpong this January. We know that confirmed by all the tier 1 sources. I think we get one or the other. I don't think we get both. I think we will pursue Gakpo. I think if we fuck up Gakpo, we might see a Memphis Depay come in and maybe we go for Frimpong. I don't think United will get both. To get both Gakpo and Frimpong, we'd have to spend 60, 70 million. I don't think United will do that, but I think United need to do that. I do think if we got Gakpo and Frimpong, we could be quite confident for top 4. In the summer, we know that Ten Hag wants a big midfielder. We know that he'd like a goalkeeper, and we know that he'd like an out-and-out striker. People think, oh, Gakpo isn't a striker. Why are we going to Gakpo in January? He's not a striker. We're not signing Gakpo in January to be our long-term striker. We're signing Gakpo in January because Vlahovic, who's a striker, we have to spend 100 million to get in January. On Carlo Ramos, who's a striker, we'd have to get 100 million to spend on January. Ivan Toney's just picked up another 30 charges today and is going to just be a slightly better version of Greenwood. I mean, well, a lot better because he's not a rapist, but he could be in prison or charges or suspended. So, Ivan Toney's a mess. Oshmi Napoli won't sell the top of the league. There's not an actual striker that United can buy that's like, boom, this improves the team. João Felix potentially on loan. Memphis Depay maybe, but there's not a top striker out there that United can currently buy, without having to spend hundreds of millions. Benjamin Sesko's one for the future, but again, the thing with Gakpo is we can't buy a striker unless we want to spend hundreds of millions, and we don't have hundreds of millions in January. Gakpo is a player we wanted in the summer. Gakpo is a player that played centre forward for the Netherlands, has played centre forward for PSV, has played left, right striker all across the front three, who can do a job at striker. And the reason Manchester United are going for Cody Gakpo is because he can just do us those 6 months until we get to the summer. Cody Gakpo is a winger that can play striker. You know what? Ronaldo was a winger that could play striker. Henry was a winger that can play striker. Not to compare them, but people forget that Cody Gakpo is 6'2". He's got the physique. He can easily be transitioned. He's flexible. He can play across the front three anyway. Cody Gakpo is that player we're getting that's going to play all across the front three to get us to summer. And in summer, that's when we get the long-term Ronaldo replacement. That's when we get the long-term summer. I don't think we're picking Cody Gakpo to be our striker for the next 5 years. I think we're picking Cody Gakpo because we're one injury away from Anthony Elanga playing. We're in a realistic position for top 4. And if you bat Ten Hag, he's got a very strong chance of getting top 4. But to do that, you'd have to go and get someone like Cody Gakpo in, because realistically, Elanga isn't going to carry us to top 4 as well. Gakpo is 6'3", so I think he could be moulded into a striker. And Alice, the Glazers may not even sell. They could be playing a game to see who will give up the most. I think the Glazers will sell unless someone's stupid enough to give them a large investment. All the reliable journalists saying that the plan is the full sale of Manchester United. The full sale of United is looking more and more likely every week. Lots and lots of reliable reports and journalists coming out basically suggesting the full sale of Manchester United is looking more and more likely. Is leaning Frimpong an option? It's definitely an option at right back as well. And those are promising targets, but that is 70 million for 2 rotation signings. Yeah, again, making a good point there. Alex P. Thuram and Gakpo would be £60 million. I think Gakpo and Depay are the only realistic attackers in January. I think if we got them both, it would be good business. But I think United will do one January deal, shut up and please the fans and call it a day. And I think that January deal will be an attacker. I wouldn't be shocked if Brandon Williams was our backup right back for the rest of the season, or we called someone on loan as well. Keep smashing the likes, people, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. We do want to get into the Burnley game. I do want to get into a few other stories, but what we do know about Gakpo was 1, Gakpo wants to come to United. 2, Gakpo will agree and accept to join United. 3, Man United leading the race for Gakpo. 4, United are confident they can get Gakpo, and 5, United are all in for Cody Gakpo, and 6, PSV need to sell Gakpo due to financial issues. So it's a very easy deal to do depending on opposition. But what else is coming out in the news of United? Because United have just completed 4 deals today, people. Manchester United know that they can lose a lot of players on a free, and Manchester United have now triggered 1-year contract extensions for Rashford, Diego Dalot, Luke Shaw, and Fred. So all of these players could leave on a free in the summer. United, extending their contract by 1 year so that they've got time to negotiate a new long-term contract with these players. From what we know from Laurie Whitwell's report, that Diego Dalot and Marcus Rashford. Man United are hoping to negotiate new long-term contracts. Ten Hag hasn't made his mind up on Luke Shaw and Fred yet. Ten Hag would like Luke Shaw and Fred for another season, but he hasn't made up his long-term mind on Luke Shaw and Fred. Marcus Rashford and Dalot were looking to get new fat contracts. Luke Shaw and Fred are getting 1 year renewals, and Man United decide if they want to keep Fred or Luke Shaw or not. I think with Fred's age and with his inconsistency under Ten Hag, I could see Fred going next year. We know that United want to bring in a big midfielder this summer. We know that United want to bring in midfield. Seems to be the priority after striker in the summer. I could see Luke Shaw staying and getting a new contract if Luke Shaw finds form and starts playing well. Would I take on Carlo Ramos? Most definitely, but I wouldn't pay 100 million for him. And Gakpo seemed like he was playing a bit deep at the World Cup. Would also need more of a 9 brought in as well while he adopts. Exactly, 100%. The one thing about Gakpo is as well, he was playing in Van Gaal's system, which is very defensive, and he had to play a bit deep during the World Cup. But he managed to score goals in quite a defensive system. What I like about Cody Gakpo, and what I think would be good about bringing Cody Gakpo to United, is that he gets goals and assists. When I've watched United this season, we've been brilliant in defence. Dalot's been fantastic. Varane's been fantastic. Sandro Martin's been fantastic. Casemiro's been a rock. We've looked good in midfield. But the one area United have struggled is to break down teams. That Newcastle draw, I think we could have won. We struggled to break them down. That Chelsea draw, I thought we could have won. We struggled to break them down. Where United have been dropping points is we're struggling to break down teams, and having a player like Gakpo, a player that gets goals and assists, a player that's got 30 goal contributions in like 24 games or something this season, a player that played for the Netherlands, and the Netherlands were fucking boring. They created nothing, but managed to get 3 goals out of like an expected goals of 0.2. Gakpo is a clinical finisher. He can get in the right position at the right time, which is such an important trait. He can make runs in behind. He can play all across the front three, but also he's very good at 1-2s. He can create, he can assist. And obviously football's not all about stats. The stats can change from Eredivisie to Premier League. Of course, the pies change massively. But with Cody Gakpo, the guy gets goals, the guy gets assists, the guy will hopefully contribute to more and more goals for United as well. Fabrizio confirmed that all 4 players that have their contract extended till 2024, exactly. So all 4 of these players will be at United another year. We're on 112 likes, guys, so please do push for 200 likes. And Gakpo gets goals. Who cares what position he plays? He gets goals, and that's what we need because we can't get an out-and-out striker. And the Glazers won't spend in January because they're selling the club. And Abdullah makes a point here. Simon Stone said, while Manchester United do want Cody Gakpo, there's reluctance for the Glazers to spend while uncertain about next owners. But at the same time, I think the Glazers know they need to spend because you cannot leave Ten Hag without striker 1. And 2, you cannot... You cannot leave Ten Hag without striker 1, but 2, it can also increase the value of the club, and that's why I think that United are looking to get an attacker and to 1, increase the value of the club as well. We know that United have been looking at an attacker before the Ronaldo situation went down. We know that Ten Hag wanted Gakpo in summer. We know that Man United wanted someone before the Ronaldo situation went down. But I think because of the Ronaldo situation, Sancho's mental health being poor as well, and Martial's injury record being dreadful, I think Man United are in a position where they physically have to sign someone because it just does not look good. It wouldn't even be fair. We're lucky that Garnacho's coming through and making such a good impact, but it would not be fair either. Please do hit the like button as well. Many want to bin David De Gea, but we've been down this road replacing Michael van der Sar, and many crumbling trying to get United's next goalkeeper. Exactly. The thing is, there's lots of links about Manchester United getting Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper. Now, Diogo Costa's got a 65 million pound release clause to be the next Man United goalkeeper. And while there's a lot of links about United getting him, it's very expensive for an ex-goalkeeper that was shaky at the World Cup, as good as he is. There's David Raya, there's Sanchez, there's even links to Martinez. United do want a new goalkeeper, but it is very hard to just replace a goalkeeper. And there's reports that even though David De Gea hasn't had his contract extended yet, United are working on extending David De Gea's contract a year. And I'll be honest, my thought process is let's stick with De Gea 1 more year. I know he's not the ideal with his feet. I know he's not the best at coming off his line. I know De Gea is not ideally what Ten Hag wants. But I just think that, De Gea another year while we kind of figure out what we want to do. Because I still think, maybe we do need a goalie. I still think midfield is more important. It was said from Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United will offer Dalot and Rashford a longer deal as expected, and talks are ongoing with De Gea. And the reason Man United are having talks ongoing with De Gea is because they want to lower his wage from about 450k a week to about 300 grand a week. They want to massively lower his wage because De Gea is very happy at United. De Gea wants to stay at United. He's very happy in Manchester, and he knows that, he might not necessarily be number 1 for Man United much longer, but he wants to stay and sign a new contract where his wage is lower, maybe do a bit of a wham matter. that seems the situation with De Gea. If I was United, I would renew De Gea's contract for a year, but also get him to agree a deal for that last year of his contract to be a lot lower, which I think United are doing. I think the reason we haven't renewed De Gea's contract is because we're getting him to take a wage deduction, and fair play to De Gea for doing that. I think we'd give De Gea another year at United. I think in January, I'd get Gakpo and Frimpong. In summer, I would go and all out for Vlahovic or Osimhen or a striker. I would go all out for Enzo Fernandez, Frenkie De Jong, and midfielder. I think United need a striker. They need a midfielder. They need a centre-back. They need a goalkeeper. They need a backup right-back. And they also need another attacker who Cody Gakpo could fill the shoes of. But we do long-term need a goalkeeper. But I still think there's areas that United should potentially prioritise over signing a goalkeeper as well. Why we have to bench a goalkeeper on 300k a week? Well, we'd extend De Gea's contract a year and then look to sell him next summer as well. And I want us to see De Gea win the Prem with us under new owners and give him a new contract. I love De Gea. And you know what? One thing I'll give David De Gea is I think he got better. His first few games under Ten Hag was iffy. You could tell he was struggling. But the more and more I watch De Gea play, the more and more he does adapt to what Ten Hag wants him to do, run off his lines. You know, I think one of the reasons with De Gea and one of the reasons De Gea did fall behind a little bit is because I don't think he's been coached properly. I don't think the level of coaching at Manchester United hasn't been particularly good. And I always think, De Gea never did this, and this that Alisson and Ederson do. But now he's starting to do it under Ten Hag because maybe Ten Hag's finally coaching him as well. So, is there any updates on new owners? Very much Middle Eastern dominant. It seems that there's talks going on with the Middle East as well. And obviously, there's talks that United want Mbappe in the summer and that whoever the new owners are want Mbappe. But very much Middle Eastern seem to be dominating. But there is news about American investment, which I will get into in a second as well. And De Gea is likely going to take a pay cut. He's improved quite a bit this season. Exactly. I think he will take a pay cut. He has improved. We have Laird. No need to spend on a right back. You just don't know with Laird. I think there's a good player in Laird. He does get a few injuries. United's plan is really to just actually recall Ethan Laird if we sell Wan-Bissaka. That's what Samuel Lucker said as well. Livakovic, the Croatian goalkeeper, was very good at the World Cup. But look at Ochoa. He was always brilliant at the World Cup for Mexico. But he was like some real bang average player as well. And I doubt United will get Mbappe. PSG would price him at 200 million. Mbappe trying to get PSG to price him at less than 150 million euros, which is about 130 million pounds, because Mbappe is desperate to leave PSG. But I think Mbappe is desperate to leave PSG for the likes of Real Madrid, not Manchester United as well. I would be very shocked if we got Mbappe, but United interested in Mbappe, of course, because he's an absolutely world-class player. Talking of other things as well, it was basically said by Simon Stone, Tier 1 source, who obviously gets briefed by Manchester United, the option for a shorter contract on reduced terms for David De Gea has been raised. So our plan for David De Gea is to just give him a short reduced terms contract. And I do think that he'll probably be goalkeeper next season, but I do think the long-term plan is to phase David De Gea out as well. I do want to get into some more news. I've got more news on Mbappe. I've got more news on Gakpo, but I've also got news on Manchester United's summer transfer plan. We've got news coming in from James Ducker about what Manchester United's plans are for the summer, what Ten Hag's plans are, and we're going to get into this story. It was said that with Ten Hag keen to strengthen his midfield further next year, and United showing strong interest in the likes of Jude Bellingham, Frenkie De Jong, and Mohamed Kudus, the future of Fred is uncertain. United are giving Fred a one-year contract extension, but they don't seem interested in giving Fred anything more. We know there's talks going on with De Gea, Delot, and Marcus Rashford for more than 1 year, but United don't seem that bothered about Fred. And I think United's plan is a midfielder this summer, a midfielder next summer, and probably get rid of Fred. I think this summer it will be looking at Frenkie De Jong. If we don't get De Jong, maybe someone like Kudus. I don't think we'll get Bellingham. I think next summer we'll be looking at Moises Caicedo. I could see United trying to get De Jong, Enzo Fernandez, Kudus this summer. Next summer trying to get an Enzo Fernandez and Fred potentially being out of the way. I still think we need two midfielders. I think we desperately need one. We need a ball-carrying midfielder, a Frenkie De Jong-like profile. That's what Erik Ten Hag's desperate for. But I still think we need two midfielders as well. But United do have interest in Bellingham and Frenkie De Jong. I think Kudus could be the more likely of the three, just because I think Frenkie De Jong, he still wants, despite him seeming to be open to moving United, he just doesn't want to leave Barcelona unless he has to. And I don't see us getting Jude Bellingham. I think we'll be priced out of it. Keep smashing the likes, people. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Kudus isn't what we need. I think we need Enzo Fernandez as well. And Brighton now want over 100 million for Moises Caicedo. Brighton are a fucking smart club. I tell you what, I wish we like, it sounds weird. We're Man United fans and we literally sit there saying, I wish we were run like Brighton. basically the people at Brighton run Brighton like United should be owned. Because I tell you what, Brighton, they go and get these really cheap players, and then they go, cool, we're going to go over 50 million for Ben White, we're going to go over 50 million for Cucurella. We're going to basically charge a fortune for all our players. And they get good money for their players. They know that they could get 60, 70 million from Moises Caicedo. They probably can get 50 million for Alexis McAllister now. The scouting at Brighton is brilliant. The way they play and the way the players develop at Brighton is absolutely brilliant. But their ability to just sell players and get like 100 million, like 50, 60 million for some of them players, it's just insane. And Moises Caicedo, it's annoying because we could have gone for 4.5 million. And now we'd have to pay 100 million if we want him. But I think for me, United will be looking for someone to go next to Casemiro, give more depth in that Eriksen role. They don't trust Fred next to Casemiro. McTominay's not really doing that role. Donny hasn't had a go. It seems to be Eriksen every week, and Eriksen can't play every week. It seems that United want a Frenkie De Jong-like player to pop in next to Casemiro. And I don't know if we'll get De Jong, but all I'm saying is if we had a midfield three of Frenkie De Jong, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes, that would be absolutely insane. And if we missed out on Frenkie De Jong, instead of going for Jude Bellingham, because I think, he's more advanced, and I think he would be 150 million. I don't think, as much as I like Jude Bellingham, as good as I think Jude Bellingham is, I don't think, and I think everyone can admit this, I don't think it would be sensible for Manchester United to go, yeah, we're going to go and spend 150 million on a midfielder when we need a striker and we need a centre-back. So I think Enzo Fernandez would be someone very good as well. It was said that Manchester United's new striker is a priority in the transfer market, and next year, in the wake of Cristiano Ronaldo's exit, drafting another highly caliber midfielder would be costly. Ten Hag also wants another right back, but it's also come out from James Ducker of The Telegraph that our priority is a Ronaldo replacement, a massive new striker, a massive new midfielder, and also a right back, and that Ten Hag very desperate to kick on with plans for next season, kick on with plans for the summer as well. I hope I'm making sense. I feel a bit sleepy. I can feel myself falling asleep a little bit. So I do apologise if pronunciation is coming out. And oil money is what we need. And Enzo Fernandez better than De Jong. I don't know if he's better, but I think he has potential to be better as well. And we're having trouble getting De Jong for getting Mbappe. I mean, I don't think we will get Mbappe, but United obviously do have a strong interest in killing Mbappe, but we know the number one priority is striker as well. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit about Manchester United Burnley in a second. I just want to cover the two more news stories I've got left on my screen, and then we're going to talk about Manchester United versus Burnley. But do let me know your predictions for United Burnley. And United fucked up not getting Caicedo on the cheap, just like Julian Alvarez and just like Enzo Fernandez. Man United see all these hidden gems in South America, and they completely mess up on it because they will not spend money when they don't have to. Cucurella has been bad at Chelsea, but still by Brighton. He's got time at Chelsea now, Potter's in, but yeah, he's not been great so far. And Mbappe already won the World Cup, but only United can get him the Carabao Cup. Mbappe, I don't think will come to United, but I can understand why United would want Mbappe. I just don't think we've got any chance of getting him as well. And it is the 17 million sold for Barcelona. Otherwise, it isn't wise to get Frenkie. If Frenkie De Jong is still having problems with his deferred wages, I wouldn't even waste the time on him after last summer. As good as Frenkie De Jong would be, as much as he's Ten Hag's number one target, I cannot be bothered to deal with the pain of the Frenkie De Jong saga. But let's get into the final stories as well. Arsenal probably won't get Gakpo because they're going to get Mudryk, aren't they? But let's get into the story by One Football. They've got some news coming in on certain players that Manchester United are in for. So I have to say this is cool. This is cool. I know this is unrelated to Man United, but the video that Argentina is football crazy. The videos going on in Argentina on the streets is mad. The Sandro's out in Argentina. Looks nice and warm in Argentina. What's the weather in Buenos Aires? 29 degrees in Argentina. Lucky little shit. But that, I always think the Argentina trophy parade is pretty cool. But let's dive into the Manchester United news here, people, as well. We've got news on Rashford's new contract, Dalot's new contract, transfer news. We'll get into the final stories, and then we'll talk about Burnley and new owners. So obviously, the story coming out is that Manchester United are going all out to sign Gakpo in January. Manchester United are very keen on getting Gakpo. They're confident they're going to get Gakpo. And also, they bring up that Jadon Sancho is still not deemed fit to start by Ten Hag. So the need for Gakpo is even more, despite Ronaldo leaving. And TalkSport say that he will cost £45 million. And obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy said that, Gakpo can leave in January, although he'd prefer him to leave in the summer. He can leave because Ruud van Nistelrooy said there's a time where you just can't say no to Gakpo leaving. So Ruud van Nistelrooy confirmed Gakpo will probably leave. Gakpo wants to join United, and United going all out for Cody Gakpo in that news as well. Diego said he thinks we'll beat Burnley 4-1, but not sure as the game's at Old Trafford. I think we will win, but I think we might just win. I feel like it's not going to be particularly close because Burnley are good. They've had time together as well. I've honestly, and this has come up a lot, I don't know why Salt Bay was in the World Cup final lifting the trophy. I don't have an absolute clue, but it's all over the internet. Everyone's angry about Salt Bay or whatever it is lifting some World Cup. Mbappe would be cheat code. I mean, it would be amazing. But again, don't think it's going to happen. We're going to get into the lineup for the Burnley game. I just want to get into this story, and then we'll be talking at Manchester United, Burnley. Obviously, we've got the 9 players returning now. We won't have Lissandro and Varane for a week, but fair enough as well. And also, Scott McTominay said something really interesting. We'll go back to Twitter for this because we can just get the direct quotes up rather than read a whole article, which has got a bit of waffle in it. But Scott McTominay spoke about, the mentality of Lisandro Martinez, the reaction of Man United to him being a World Cup winner. And Scott McTominay came out and said that he messaged Lisandro the other day and said congratulations, and that Lisandro Martinez replied, "We go for the next one. He just won the World Cup, and that shows the mentality of the group." And what I love about Lisandro Martinez, he's got that elite mentality. He's just won the World Cup, and he's thinking, let's go for the Carabao Cup. Let's go for the Premier League. Let's go for the Europa League. Like, he's such an elite player, such an elite mentality. I don't understand how any United fan could dislike Lisandro Martinez. Honestly, he's probably my favourite player at United at the moment. He's just got that kind of next level mentality, next level fight, next level spirit. I just think you have to love the guy as well. Wages didn't keep Frenkie De Jong at Barca. He just didn't want to leave. Chelsea offered to pay the owed wages and he stayed. Partly true, but he did say to Ten Hag if he had to leave, he'd go to United. But I think, ideal situation was staying as well. And Mbappe, the new buyer of United, imagine. I don't know. I don't think we'll get Mbappe, but if we get rich new owners, I guess it's possible. But yeah, I think Company's got them playing well. We've got to be careful with Burnley. Company has got them playing well. Shall we look at what the potential Burnley lineup is, people? Should we have a look? Should we see if the lineup's on SofaScore yet? Should we get the predictor lineup out and then should we get the Leeds lineup out? So we played Burnley tomorrow. We know Garnacho's starting tomorrow. That's been confirmed. Garnacho will start tomorrow. They've not put out a lineup yet. They've not put out any kind of predictions. But what we'll do is I'll tell you who's likely to play tomorrow. So I know certain players are confirmed starting tomorrow, like Garnacho. So if we change to this, we know that Alejandro Garnacho basically is confirmed starting for Manchester United tomorrow. That is a fact. We know Scott McTominay is again confirmed starting for Manchester United tomorrow. That's a fact. And we know Victor Lindelof is confirmed starting for Manchester United tomorrow. We know these 3 players are 100% starting tomorrow. We know David De Gea is 100% starting tomorrow. And if I would be honest, I think we'll see Malacia start tomorrow because he barely played at the World Cup. I think that we'll see Maguire start tomorrow because he's the only fit centre-back. The question mark is here. Here is the big question mark. Will he play Wan-Bissaka? Dalot will not be able to play because of injury. Will he play Wan-Bissaka? Will he play Brandon Williams at right back? Will he play maybe Malacia at right back and actually play Luke Shaw? I think we'll see Brandon Williams because it's an FA Cup game. I think we'll see Brandon Williams. I think we will see Eriksen in the midfield because he's been back for a while. And I think we will see Donny or Bruno. I think we'll see something like that. Up top, I think it will be Martial. I think, in fact, we know it's going to be Martial. The question is on the right, will it be Elanga or could it be Anthony? I think we'll see Elanga, and I think he'll rest Anthony and Rashford. And I think this will probably be the lineup we likely see versus Burnley tomorrow, people. I think we'll beat Burnley, but I will say I do think Burnley's going to be a difficult game because they're playing well. They've got all their players, Burnley. They've been training. All of them have basically been at Burnley, not at the World Cup. They've not had any breaks. They've had a lot more momentum. I think and they've also played a few games, Burnley. This is our first proper game back. So I do think Burnley will be difficult, but I think we'll see something like that. I'm not sure if he's going to play Bruno or not. That's the only one I think is up for debate. I think he might rest certain players as well. Wan-Bissaka is linked to Wolves, West Ham, and all of them. And I don't know why I'm saying FA Cup. I do mean Carabao Cup. You know what I mean as well. Ten Hag versus Company, they might square up to each other. And I think Shaw could play left back, Malacia right back. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened either. But Martial will probably start as well. Mbappe said if he leaves PSG, only go Madrid to play with Vinny and Rodrigo. I don't know if that's true or not, because apparently Real Madrid basically said that Kylian Mbappe can never join. His window is up. They feel betrayed that he signed that new contract. So you never know as well. And Rashford's basically got a long time off. I think Rashford is back in training, and a lot of the main United players are back in training. If we go back to Twitter and we get the news up, a lot of the main Manchester United players are back in training. If we get over to the news again ahead of the game, I said I was going to go on Twitter. I've accidentally gone on One Football. There's some team news that's coming here. So yeah, here was the team news. Okay, it's United versus Burnley Carabao Cup preview, team news, lineup news, all of that as well. There was confirmation that Garnacho and Martial were playing, knowing Martial will get injured in the warm-up. But this was the potential lineup that they're saying, and they think it's going to be De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Malacia, Scott McTominay, Eriksen, Anthony, Elanga, Donny van der Beek, Garnacho, and Rashford. Now, I don't think Rashford would play. I think that Martial will play over Rashford, but they do predict that for the Manchester United game. But I think that's a pretty shit prediction. I just think Martial will surely play because he's been on pre-season. He's been playing a lot as well. We know one player that won't be playing, and I think we've got to talk about this again, is Jadon Sancho is absent from United squad. Obviously, Ten Hag's bringing psychologists in, Ten Hag's bringing mental people in. You know, I love Jadon Sancho. He has been absent from the Manchester United squad a while. It is a little bit worrying that Sancho, we don't know when Sancho's coming back. Ten Hag doesn't know what Sancho's coming back. It's a little bit worrying. There's obviously something going on with Sancho's mental health, which isn't particularly nice. And I just think as Man United fans, we can only just hope for the best with Sancho and hope that he gets back to feeling better and playing better soon, because there's obviously something going on for him. You know, we thought he'd be back by now. We knew that he went away for a week, and then we found out he missed the trip to Spain because he wasn't feeling in the right mindset. And we're like, okay, he's missed Man United's trip for Spain. Hopefully everything's all okay with Sancho. Not only has Jadon Sancho missed Manchester United's trip to Spain, Jadon Sancho, you know, is now missing the first game back for Burnley, which he would have probably played had he gone on pre-season, because Ten Hag has said, you know what, guys, Jadon Sancho is not physically or mentally ready to play for United at the moment. And I love Jadon Sancho, and that worries me a bit. But I do think that Ten Hag is treating him well. I know there's a top player in Sancho, and I feel like Sancho is going to have that Rashford redemption where he's just going to come back and he's just going to start playing really, really well. Well, I hope he starts playing really, really well, but you never know. I just have a feeling that when he does come back, he's absolutely going to boss it. And the problem is we don't know when he's back. Like, he might be out for another few weeks. You know, he already missed the last 4 weeks of last season through illness, which we found out wasn't illness, it's because of his problems. But whatever's going on is basically caused Sancho to be this whole 6-week World Cup break. Sancho's been training alone. The 3 weeks before the World Cup, Sancho was ill and not playing and training. And now the week after the World Cup. Basically, this whole situation that Sancho is in, when you really think about it, is responsible for him really being away from United for about 10 weeks. So I do worry a little bit. And I just hope, again, that, you know, deleting social media, Ten Hag is probably focusing with it all right as well. But I think it's mental health problems, family problems. We don't really know what's going on, but we can only talk about what's, you know, we think. Alice, if we buy Mbappe, we would get in trouble with his ego in the dressing room like Ronaldo. Potentially. I mean, I think that's the least of my worries if we buy Mbappe, though. I think I'd be like, what the like? I think my biggest worry is I don't think we'll be able to buy Mbappe. I don't know why I'd go to United. But if we did get Mbappe, I'd be like, oh, I guess there will be the ego problems and all that as well. I think Donny will start. I think we'd all like to see Donny start as well. Bruno's back but training alone, which makes me probably think that Donny will start more. Sancho's literally disappeared for 3 months, but I just think he's going to come back like really strong. Like I have a feeling that he's going to, like, I don't know why, I just have a feeling that I know he's been out a while, but he's going to come back strong. But Ten Hag, one of the reasons Ten Hag's got a psychologist in is because he's worried about how the players respond to the World Cup. You know, some of them will be in happy place like Lissandro. Some of them might be sad after the World Cup. You know, Ten Hag is quite concerned. Apparently, they've put a picture of Mbappe crying on the World Cup. Messi's Mbappe's teammate. Let me show you this, guys. Let's go over to Twitter. The thing is with Mbappe is, again, I don't think he's coming to United, but I do think he wants out PSG because his teammate, you know, Martinez, and his teammate Messi. I don't know if you can see this on the screen. But that is literally Mbappe. They've put a picture of Mbappe's head crying on the World Cup trophy. That's too. Let me make that bigger. I don't know if you can see that. Absolute shithousery from Argentina there. Absolute next level shithousery from Argentina. I think, like, I don't know, Mbappe's got attitude problems, but it's very obvious that him, Messi, and Neymar don't get along, and I think that's probably why he wants to leave as well. There's news about Dubai consortium being close to fully taking over Manchester United, and that the paperwork is ongoing. But this came out from one of those what's they called ITK accounts. The ITK accounts are quite big on Dubai buying United, but again, they are the type of people that do lie. Like they do lie, the ITK accounts, don't they? So I would take that with a pinch of salt as well. Ten Hag will sort out Mbappe. I think if we did get Mbappe, Ten Hag would sort him out. Like, he dealt with Ronaldo disciplinary issues, fine. He's dealt with the Garnacho disciplinary issues, fine. If you fuck around, you just get kicked out essentially as well. Yeah, the ITK accounts on Twitter are basically saying we're in talks with Dubai consortium and the deal's close, but you just know that the ITKs are just guessing, and that sometimes they guess right. You just can't trust them, and they're just annoying. Do you know what annoys me is there were so many ITK accounts saying, oh, yeah, Sancho's got attitude problems, Sancho's causing problems in training, la-di-la-di-la, making up this stuff about Sancho. They've deleted those tweets now. They found out it was mental health issues. Because we know 100% if it was an attitude problem, Ten Hag would have called out Sancho. He would have exposed Sancho, would have done all of that. That's what Ten Hag would have done, because that's the kind of manager Ten Hag is. He doesn't protect you if you're misbehaving. So all these ITK accounts that were making up that Sancho was a problem and all of that, they're deleting their tweets because they just straight up lied. They straight up lied. That's why I don't get my info from Twitter. Well, when I get my info from Twitter, I go to like accounts like United Plug, United Report, United Central, because what they do is they tweet the source. So they'll get the news and they'll tweet the source. So they'll go Disco Mirror, oh, that's a tier 2 source. Okay, they only really tweet decent sources of information and actual news. The ITK accounts, you won't even see an ITK account on here. They have their own account where they pretend to be a journalist. If you want to get news on Twitter, follow like United Plug, Central Devils, because they're not a journalist. They just tweet what the reliable journalists say and ignore what the ITK accounts say. But the ITK accounts are honestly, they really do wind me up, because they just make up so much crap. They'll be like, this Sancho's done this player's done this player's done this. What I do want to do actually is I wanted to get back into the Cody Gakpo. I wanted to get back into Cody Gakpo because I wanted to show you some of his statistics and all of that as well. Pellistri could take Sancho's spot if given a chance. You never know. I would play Pellistri over Elanga, but I don't think they've taken a warm liking to Pellistri for some reason. But obviously, Garnacho had a pretty decent World Cup, 7s in every game, and then he got a 6.6 versus Argentina, and he was played out of position. But if you look at Gakpo's World Cup heat map, he actually played as a right-sided striker. Depay played on the left, and Gakpo played on the right. And he played kind of all around the park, if you look at his position stats, but which we can't really find. He actually did start in a lot of positions as well. I'm trying to see if I can find how many, if they've got actual statistics on his positioning. If not, I will show you here. But he did play all across the front three, as you can see here, as a striker. And if we look at the where is it? We look at the Argentina game, because people say Gakpo's a left winger. We look at the I'm trying to get the game up on my thing. Argentina. It's not wanting to load. That's annoying. But I was going to say, we would just show that he's a striker. So he can play across the front three. But it's not coming up for some reason. It came up in one of, there we go. Here we go. That's it. So as you can see, Gakpo started here. In a lot of the Netherlands games, this is where Gakpo started, at striker. Obviously, he plays a lot at left wing. Left wing is probably his best position, but he's definitely capable of playing at striker. And I think a lot of people forget that. Him and Depay had a good partnership. And the thing about Gakpo is he can play all across the front three. And when he scored those goals, a lot of those games he was playing at striker. If Mbappe gets back down from his high horse, then maybe. But again, Ten Hag won't stand for it. I blame PSG for doing it. Yeah, 100%. The way PSG treated Mbappe, they made him believe he was a king. And no wonder he had attitude problems. And, I just think PSG needs to admit that he wanted to go to a better league. He wanted to go to Madrid. And PSG basically just tried to trick him and do anything they can and just gave him the club for him to stay, basically. I think that's the problem. I'd like to have seen Pellistri play, but I think, it will be Elanga, especially because Elanga's obviously had time with the squad. I think Rashford could potentially play, but I do see Rashford But I don't get why the Argentinians are forcing like this Mbappe hate everywhere. Like I don't know what Mbappe's done to Argentina. Like it's a bit like I like a bit of shithousery and all that, but I don't get why Argentina is sticking Mbappe everywhere. I don't know. It's a bit weird. But we move on to our final story, people. If you have not already, guys, please do smash that like button. It would be appreciated. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Manchester United do play against Burnley tomorrow. Everybody in the chat, put your score predictions in. I'm going to go 2-1 United win. I think it's going to be iffy. I think it's going to be a bit rusty, but I do think United are going to get the win over the edge. And I'm going to go that a 2-1 cheeky win for Manchester United. So do get your score predictions down below in the chat for Manchester United versus Burnley tomorrow. I know you guys are excited because it's been like 6 weeks. Must have surely been about 6 weeks since we'd last seen Manchester United. It has been way too long. Mbappe could have left on a free to whichever club he wanted. It's his responsibility for staying 100%. People are saying 2-0 United, 5-4 United, 2-0 United as well. Gakpo will get better service at United, true. SM's not that confident about Burnley. It will be a difficult game. And Alice, sleep well tomorrow. We're going to kick off the second part of the season, finally getting started. I can't wait. I'm glad the World Cup's over. Like, I don't get into international football as much as I should. Like, I do like the World Cup, but it's just like, I'm just glad that club football is back. I'm absolutely glad club football is back. A lot of people saying 2-1. I think it's going to be rusty. I'm saying 2-1. Some people are more confident, but I'm thinking a lot of our first team players won't play. 2-1 to Steve, 3-1. Yeah, FPL is back. I gave up on FPL after about 5 weeks. You know when you miss 1 week on FPL and then your motivation goes. So I completely gave up on FPL. But we'll get the final story up and then we will end out the live stream. We'll get the Argentina stuff as well. The Argentinian celebrations are crazy. It's quite cool to watch the Argentinian celebrations. I just wish it was England. I just wish England had won the World Cup, people. It would have been nice if England had won the World Cup. But this was the other story on Gakpo again, that Man United greenlight Erik Ten Hag transfer wish and club in driving seat to seal 45 million deal, which I think is something definitely affordable. 0-0 pence. Does it go to penalties? Oh, it does go to penalties in the Carabao Cup, doesn't it? Just had a moment there as well. But guys, look, I am going to end today's live stream here. Please do smash that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. There will be a video in the morning and then we will be live tomorrow evening for United versus Burnley. So make sure you have the post notification bell on for watch-alongs, live streams, United Burnley content. But as I've said, video midday and then maybe not midday, maybe 11 a.m. Well, it depends on the news, really. If there's lots of news, it'll be an early morning video. If the news doesn't come out to 9, 10 o'clock, it'll be a midday video. But we will be back this time tomorrow, exactly this time tomorrow, for Manchester United versus Burnley, which I believe is an 8 o'clock kickoff. I don't want the Manchester Evening News. Manchester United. Let me just check when 8 o'clock tomorrow, people. And then we'll go ahead and obviously do a match reaction after the game. So see you next time, people. Smash a like, smash a subscribe, and bye.